Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Property Zone Live again. I'm Shawnee here, and today topic is about Sri Lanka. I think not too long ago, all of us has heard about Sri Lankan is actually declared bankrupt, and this is actually the word of bankruptcy is actually not a new thing, even for Malaysia. I think some of us still have a vivid memory that our previous finance minister has indicated our country may be heading towards bankruptcy. And even indicated that some state is at the urge of bankruptcy. So the incidence of Sri Lankan has officially declared bankrupt has shaken many people's confidence towards the nation's financial capacity. So in this, I would like to share some of the screen, some of the slide that I have. Look into the details of the figures. Why the situation between Malaysia and Sri Lanka is different by looking some of the very obvious number. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just going to pull out my slide. There you go. Okay. So I hope everybody can see my slide clearly. It was actually back about 1 month ago. The Prime Minister then in Sri Lanka has formally declared and announced to the world that Sri Lanka is bankrupt and actually officially seeking help from IMF, International Monetary Fund. Okay. Subsequently, you will see thousands and thousands, not just thousands, tens and hundreds of thousands of protesters actually goes to either parliament and protest. I think they were in living hell because of the dire economic situation, the currency, the shortage of fuel, the shortage of electricity. Almost everything was jammed. School, public services, public transportation, everything was having a rough disruption. Okay, and they even mock the name because the name of the prime minister is Gota, and then they Gota gonna go home, Gota gonna resign, Gota gonna what? So they are mocking the name and actually to express their anger towards how he handled the nation and leads to the bankruptcy today. Okay, and I think some of you have remembered this. They actually even ventured into the prime minister house, okay, the official house. Then, to see, and some of them even to take out some of the things. They hope they can sell for some money. Okay, so this is the one, and after that, the president actually resigned. President of Sri Lanka actually resigned, and then he actually flew to Singapore officially. Okay, after was stranded and transit for Maldives. Okay, now this is what happened in Sri Lanka back then, and in the event unfold. And we just want to take a look at. We all know the past 2.5 years, the COVID, the Russian and Ukraine wars that actually create some of the unintended uh, impacts and effects on many countries' financial condition. But at the same time, there are certain conditions that is very unique to Sri Lankans that leads them to where they are today. Okay, so okay, some of the crises, according to Wikipedia, say to have due to multiple compounding effects. For example, tax cuts, money creation that leads to inflation, nationwide policies shift to organic. I think a lot of people may not heard of this, and actually we'll go in details why shifting from a normal farming to organic farming will create such a great impact on Sri Lankan financial condition. Okay, now if you take a look at this, the numbers in terms of the external debt that Sri Lankan has, you can see here. The foreign debt back in 2019, just 3 years ago, this before COVID, it was 42% of their GDP. Is how you measure, no? We cannot just look at their national debt in terms of the numbers. We must measure the national debt level. How many percent versus GDP? It was 42% before COVID back in 2019. and then quickly it rose to 119%, close to 3 times, okay, in GDP in 2021. It means that the level of debt levels versus the GDP has gone up by almost 3 times. And this has shown us how drastic um, the financial condition of Sri Lanka has turned worse. Okay, this is one number. Malaysia, at the latest one we have seen, is close to about 58 to 60%. So that's one of the major difference we have. I will show you the numbers later. And the second one is very important, is the foreign reserve measure in US dollar. Back in February this year, the country has about 2.31 billion. Now, 2.31 billion may sound like a lot of money to many of us. But if you put things in perspective in terms of a country's foreign reserve, it's almost like nothing already. And Malaysia, as of the latest figure, we are close to about 109 to 110 billion. They were talking about 50 times, okay? 50 times more reserve compared to Sri Lanka, okay? Okay, as I mentioned to you earlier, one of the things that leads to bankruptcy in Sri Lanka today is the agriculture crisis, okay? The president Gotabaya has actually announced that Sri Lanka will only allow organic farming, banning inorganic fertilizer and chemical-based fertilizer. Well, you only can use organic fertilizer. Okay, I think the shift from normal farming to organic farming is very drastic. If we look at Sri Lanka now, two of the major things they have in terms of bringing them the foreign money is actually the rice and the tea. So by shifting to organic, which is the cost is very high, first of all, the drop in tea production, okay, we all know the famous Sri Lankan tea. The result from the fertilizer ban alone resulted in the loss of 425 million US dollar. And they also suffer a 20% drop in rice production for the first 6 months, reversing what it was previously a self-sufficiency. Okay, previously they don't have to go out and buy things. Now they actually have to go out and the tea itself is suffer 425 million US dollar, and they now have to resort to buy rice from overseas. When first of all their country currency is weak, and at the same time the price of the food, including rice, has gone up tremendously, mainly due to the war between Russia and Ukraine. Now, the situation in the tea industry was described critical, and a lot of farmers were, they have a very challenging time in their livelihood because of the drop of production and because of the increase in the cost. Okay, and of course, the Russia and Ukraine war brought into another direct impact for Sri Lankan is, and a lot of people may not understand, I may not know that actually Sri Lanka is actually one of the famous tourist destination for people that are from Ukraine and Russia. Okay, you can see that Sri Lanka here, Sri Lanka tourism sector is heavily reliant upon Russia and Ukraine, and most of the tourist arrival are from the two nations. So you can see factor 1, factor 2, and all these factors is actually hit Sri Lanka with the last straw on the camel's back. So let's come back to Malaysia again. Is Malaysia moving towards bankruptcy? Most people who actually look at the data, they will say it's actually more of a political talk. Especially they are criticizing the opposition's party, okay, for not managing the country well properly. How we know? I think first of all we need to look at how external rating, independent rating agency rate Malaysian government bond. Okay, we can put all the thoughts aside. How the world, how the outside market see how stable a nation's financial capacity, financial condition is, they will actually look at their grade of their government bond. Because when the government want to raise the money using some foreign loan, they will actually issue the government bond. Okay, with this, they will engage the rating agencies to see how stable Malaysian government bond is compared to others. So in this case, S&P, the Standard and Poor, has rated Malaysia A negative, which is still within the investment grade. Versus Sri Lankan, they actually term it as selective default. So it's external independent rating agency. They give their opinions by giving the rating on the government bond. So you can see Malaysia government bond, their grade is actually 4 to 5 notch higher than Sri Lankan. That's one thing. Second thing, Malaysia 10-year government or sovereign bond yield is hovering about 4%, which is very low. Very simple. The safer, the stronger the financial condition of a country is, normally people would willing to take a lower yield because of the lower risk involved. So in this case, a mere 4% for the bond yield reflected the overall world, the other countries who are buying the Malaysian bond are still confident with Malaysian. That's why they are willing to take a 4%, a mere 4% yield, as compared to some of the countries that have to offer double-digit yield. Okay. Now, national debt to GDP. If you remember, Sri Lankan was about 119% towards their GDP. Malaysia was only 58 by the end of 2021. And the other one is a foreign reserve. Okay, foreign reserve, just now they have about 2.5 billion. Okay, this one is reflected in million. Malaysia foreign reserve in US dollar, okay, has decreased but still maintaining 109 billion, which is close to about 40 to 50 times compared to Sri Lanka. Okay. So other than the national level, a lot of people are also concerning about household and individual. Okay, because the countries is one thing. Okay, there's affecting the government how they run, but at the same time, there was some concern about would individual facing bankruptcy, the trend of individual bankrupted, are they on a rising trend, especially if now the interest rate is going up. Okay, because just not too long ago, you can see on 11 July, there's actually a consumer lending group that warns 32,000 more people may go bankrupt if the OPR, overnight policy rate, is gonna increase again. So a lot of people are actually shocked by this news, and they are also concerned on individual level. So not long after, in a rare open letter, because you know our Bank Negara hardly make any out of the norm announcement through open letter, and because of this concern, Bank Negara governor actually wrote in the open letter and dispelled OPR high bankruptcy rise notion. In fact, she actually shared with us the trend of having a bankruptcy in Malaysia as individual is actually going down since the year of 2016. Can you see? So this only registered until August 2019. And one of the things she pointed out that increase in OPR may not have so much impact affecting or increasing the people turn to bankruptcy is because a lot of individual personal loan or car loan, they actually are fixed loan. The rate is fixed from the day they took the loan. So any increase of the OPR may not affect their installment payment. Unlike housing loan. Housing loan is a daily rest. But housing loan, normally when you take housing loan, you have an accept base when you take the loan. So to put things in a summary is that on individual level, okay, even though there are a lot of people are taking a loan, but if you're taking the loan, that is the term as good loan. For example, if you take a housing loan, you have a good asset, you have a good property located in a good location, the chances of it appreciate over time with inflation level factors is your asset level is increasing. That is first thing. Second thing, if there are people buying the car, not just for leisure, it bring them to work, especially is very related to the car. For example, if some of the people are getting the car to do some food delivery, to do some goods delivery, to fetch people from airport, tourists from airport, this loan, this car loan in particular, is helping them to generate positive income over the month. So sometimes you look at no debt level is one thing on national level, but on individual level, what kind of loans they are having? Are the loan creating a positive value to them financially? That is something that we need to look into as well. So with this, let me just recap. Sri Lankan bankruptcy has shaken the world. Malaysia also have similar concern, but we are not, at least for this moment, at this moment, we are not heading towards bankruptcy like Sri Lanka. And the figure has actually shown us from foreign reserve, from the debt, GDP debt the national debt versus GDP, and also some of the unique situation in Sri Lanka is not happening in Malaysia. So with this, I'm just gonna end the session for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you very soon next month. Have a great Thursday evening. Bye bye.